Captain Max Papley, who's had a brilliant game, whether it's centre-half forward or full forward. He's kicked 6 goals, 2 so far.
And now, 47 years later, what are the champion Moorabbin's captain's memories of that great day after seeing the footage for the first time?
Oh, good. Especially after the previous grand final, the year before, when we were beaten by a point by Sandringham. It was nice to extract a little bit of revenge, but I think it was probably nearly all over at half-time that day. But we felt it was all over at three-quarter time the year before. But no, it was good, and it was great to see it. Good footage and really high quality. I was surprised.
The previous year they had a good side, and they were 7 goals in front at three-quarter time, and then I think they probably had a mental letdown in the last quarter, and our players got a sense of it and went on and won the premiership against them, and they were really dirty, Moorabbin. So they went all ends to try and make sure they won it in 1963.
It was sweet revenge from what had happened to us the year before, when we were over 7 goals up at three-quarter time, and they got a spurt on and we just couldn't stop them. And I think they won the match by a point.
I think in the midst of time, people forget just what a good side Moorabbin had in those years.
Well, we were fortunate. We had Papley, that was probably one of the most outstanding players you'd come across. And there would have been at least 6 or 7 in that team that played league football in the season either before or 2 seasons earlier. Don Bricker, who was the president of the club and also the mayor of Moorabbin, wanted to do something about winning a premiership, and he recruited, there must have been 6 from St Kilda, Jimmy Gullison from Footscray, Barry Harrison from Collingwood, and it was a team that was pretty well placed all around the ground.
I played with Barry Harrison, who played when I was with Collingwood with him, and he was a very tough player at Collingwood. He was certainly a very tough player in the VFA. And Lindsay Fox, everybody knows the name Lindsay Fox, and he was a very, very tough player, if I can put it mildly like that. Tough, hard-hitting, and probably bent the rules quite a lot of times, but he was fearless, absolutely fearless.
Yeah, all of the fellas were pretty well aggressive individuals, and a lot of people got out of the way of that little group of ruck players of that period.
You had Gullison at full back, and he was a pretty good player.
Oh yes, he came across from Footscray, and he was playing, I think, at Footscray reserves at the time, and he came across and played full back. And just looking at that footage, I haven't seen that footage before. To see the amount of drop kicks that were done, and Jimmy used to land the ball close to the centre all the time with the drop kick. But Jim, sadly now, is one of the guys that's no longer with us. But we had the likes of Manny, Brian Manny, Len Gilder, Bruce Whalebone, who were all local boys.
There were fellas like Barry Shepherd, who was a school teacher, nowhere near as aggressive as Hooker Harrison, just quite the opposite. Ronnie Rolfe came from South Melbourne. I could nearly go through the whole lot of that team even today. Tommy Crusher was a little back pocket player. Bruce Whalebone was the first rover with Peter Burns the second rover. Ben Cremeri came from Melbourne, played centre half back. And Papley, you could put him anywhere. He's the only person I ever saw on a football track that trained with an apple in his hand and ate it as he ran round the ground to warm up. He just had natural ability, and he could kick a ball from the centre to the goal square, and he could take a mark 6 foot off the ground, and he just flowed like a ballerina.
I always had a high opinion of Max. He was a great player for Moorabbin, and then went on to South Melbourne. And some of the players like Des Kennedy for Sandringham, he was only a young kid at that time. I think he might have been 19 or 20. And then seeing players like Barry Burke, who Nathan Burke's dad, who played at Sandringham, was a very clever player. Probably one of the best players, I thought, on that day for us. And I've always admired him, was a bloke called Ross Shrives. We used to call him Shrugger. tough as nails, and he just was the symbolic team man of the time. And he was in his 30s, I think, then.
Seeing that footage, there was a couple of players that you'd forgotten had even played in that team.
Yeah, there were. Henry Merritt on the half-back flank. I didn't remember him actually playing, so it's sad but it is nearly 50 years. And young kid Perovic, I couldn't remember him playing in that side until I saw him, and I don't know what happened to him after that, but he certainly showed a lot of ability coming out of the under-19s for that game.
Football clubs, business and family life are all pretty much the same. The strong have got to look after the weak. You've got to be a team player. You've got to be prepared to take the ups and the downs in that process. And you've got to believe in one another. You've got to accept that a chain is as strong as the weakest link. So if the weakest link needs a bit of encouragement, you've got to be there to give it. But the team spirit and working 18 or 20 players as one to gain an outcome is something that's no different in a business. All of the things in business apply to a team spirit and the individuals working as a member of that team.
Kennedy, a long punt kick up towards the full forward position, and there goes the siren as Muter marks this one, 25 to 30 yards out from goal. I don't think he wants the kick. Anyway, umpire O'Neill's not going to give it to him, and it's Moorabbin's premiership in no uncertain terms by a margin of 66 points, 64 points. The final scores in the 1963 VFA Grand Final: Moorabbin 19 goals, 16 behinds, 130 points, to Sandringham 9 goals, 12 behind, 66 points.
For the best in wining, dining